Now, in this lesson, we're going to learn how to insert rows and columns and learn how to insert cells into our worksheet. I've actually been doing this kind of here and there throughout a lot of these lessons because you kind of need to get it done sometimes. But really, I want to put everything in one place so that if it's been a little confusing to you, you can look at this particular lesson and really understand everything you need to know. So here we have some nice data in a tabular form. And also notice I've added something over to the right. We'll get to it in a minute, but I've got a lunch menu here for the company. I'm just going to serve some spaghetti and chicken and fish and so on. Here I'm just kind of got some junk over to the right. Mostly I'm working on this here. This stuff over here is just stuff I've kind of created. Let's say that you want to insert a column that goes here in between yearly sales and Social Security. So if I wanted to do that, I would highlight the whole column. There's a couple of ways to do it. If you look on the home menu, there's an insert button. Most of the time, if you just click this button, it's going to do what you want it to do. So let's just try to do that. We've got the column selected. Let's click this. And what it's done is it's inserted a column in between the two that you were interested in. Basically pushes everything to the right, including everything over here that's not even part of this. So it literally inserts a new column. It pushes everything over to column G. Now let me undo that. Notice everything pops back to where it was. So we can do that just by clicking the insert button. Excel usually knows what you want to do. If you want to be more explicit, click the drop down and then say insert sheet columns or insert cells. In this case, it's not going to matter. Click insert sheet columns. Exactly the same thing's going to happen. Now, another way you can do this is once the column is highlighted, you can right click anywhere, right click, and go to insert. And again, Excel knows because I've highlighted a column that I'm trying to or that I desire to insert a column. So when I click insert, again, exactly the same thing happens. All right, now let's say that I've created this column and then I decide I don't really want it at all. So in fact, there's a couple of different ways to get rid of column F. Up here, there is a delete button. I can click that. It's going to work exactly how I suspect, but I can go down here and tell it to delete sheet columns or so on, and it'll just kind of push everything back. Let me go and put it the way it was. You can also, once the column is highlighted, you can right click on it and go down to delete. And again, Excel knows because I've got the column highlighted that I wish to delete this column. Everything will be shifted to the left like this. So that's how to insert and delete columns. And in fact, exactly the same thing happens with rows. So if I really want to insert a new employee between Fred and Jason, I would highlight Fred. And again, a couple of different ways. I can insert, and then I can say insert sheet rows. And so I can insert that guy. That works perfectly well. Everything gets shifted down, but look what happened. Because I highlighted the whole row, the little mini table I had over to the right also gets affected by that. Now that's because I highlighted the entire row. So let me go back and undo that. Before I show you how to fix that little problem, let me show you. Once this is highlighted, I can right click and select insert. Exactly the same thing is going to happen. So bottom line, you can highlight rows, you can highlight columns, and Excel will take care of it. In fact, if you want to insert two columns, I can highlight two columns here, right click, insert, everything will be pushed over two slots there. I can highlight three of these guys, for instance, right click and insert, and three empty rows will appear. Notice they appear all the way over here, shifting everything down. So however many rows and columns you select, when you insert, that's how many blank ones is basically going to be there. Now what I'd like to do is turn your attention over here to the fact that whenever I insert an entire row, it kind of screws up what's going on over on the right. Now, you may say, well, I'll never have anything over on the right, so who cares? But in reality, when you're dealing with large worksheets, you very likely will have extra tables over to the right or on top or on bottom or whatever, and they'll get in the way. It's just the nature of the beast. When you're dealing with large worksheets, it's very common to have separate tables in different parts of the screen. So let me go and hit undo here. If I wanted to insert some rows, but not affect what was over here, instead of selecting the entire row like this, I could just highlight these cells. And if I right click and hit insert, Excel is going to know that I'm trying to insert some rows, but it's going to ask me, because there's a few different ways to handle this. Do I want to shift the cells down? Do I want to insert an entire row? Well, if I insert an entire row, it's going to do exactly what I did before. I don't want that. So I'm going to hit right click, insert, and I'm going to shift cells down. That means all of these cells here are going to be shifted down, but it will not affect anything over to the right because I've only highlighted this region here. So that's what I would do if I wanted to add 3 employees. Also notice when I inserted those cells, you see these fields here, these cells are actually all formulas. They're calculating the raise of these people. When I inserted the rows, it adjusted the formulas automatically and referenced them properly so the calculation remains unchanged. And finally, if I decide after all, you know what, I really don't want these guys, I can go and click delete, or I can right click. In this case, I'll just delete these guys and it'll shift everything back up. So that's how you insert rows and columns and cells in Microsoft Excel. It's something you'll be doing a lot because you'll always be creating tables, creating new records. Maybe they're in alphabetical order, you need to wedge one in there. So you need to know how to insert cells and delete cells without messing up other parts of your worksheet. And that's basically what this is all about.